The afternoon had been calm at the edge of the city park, the kind of quiet shift Officer Harris secretly appreciated. Children's laughter drifted through the air, leaves rustled gently overhead, and his canine partner, Rex, trotted beside him with that steady confidence only a trained police dog carried. Everything felt routine, comfortable, predictable. But then Rex stopped. Not slowed. Not paused. Stopped rigid, alert, ears forward. Officer Harris frowned. "What is it, boy?" Rex didn't look at him. Instead, he pulled forward, steps quickening with unusual urgency. Harris tightened his grip on the leash, but Rex let out a low, trembling whine he almost never used on duty. The officer felt a strange flutter of concern rise in his chest. Rex guided him toward a cluster of bushes near the walking trail, moving with purpose, almost protectiveness. When Harris pushed the branches aside, he froze. A small child, mud on his shoes, tears dried on his cheeks, sat curled against a tree trunk trying to be brave. Before Harris could speak, Rex gently stepped forward and sat beside the boy, perfectly still, as if guarding something fragile. The child's tiny hand immediately clutched the dog's fur, gripping it like a lifeline. And something about that gesture, so instinctive, so desperate, sent a ripple of confusion and emotion through the officer's chest. Because Rex wasn't just comforting the boy, he was shielding him. And Rex had sensed something else, something Harris couldn't yet see. Moments later, everything changed. Before we continue, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more heart-touching dog stories. And tell me, where are you watching from? The afternoon drifted in, gently warm, slow, peaceful. Officer Harris walked the path that curved along the edge of the city park. His steps were steady, measured, the kind of rhythm that came only on calm patrol days. Beside him, Rex trotted with quiet confidence. The German shepherd's ears flicked at soft sounds, distant laughter, a bicycle chain clicking, leaves brushing together overhead. Nothing urgent, nothing unusual, just a normal shift. Harris breathed in the soft scent of cut grass. A breeze brushed the back of his neck. He adjusted the strap of his vest, not out of stress, just habit, and glanced down at his partner. Rex glanced up in return. Just a second, a small moment of connection. "Good boy," Harris murmured. Rex's tail gave one easy wag. Calm, relaxed, present. They continued down the path. A jogger passed by, nodding politely. A mother pushed a stroller near the playground. Teens played basketball across the lot, the rhythmic thump of the ball echoing across the grass. It felt like the kind of day where nothing would go wrong. The kind of day where the world seemed steady. Harris let his shoulders drop a little. Rex's gait loosened, almost matching his partner's mood. And then, Rex stopped. Not slowed, not hesitated. Stopped. His body stiffened with a quiet alertness. Head up, ears forward, breathing still and focused. Harris took 2 more steps before noticing the tension on the leash. He turned. "What is it, buddy?" Rex didn't blink, didn't move, didn't look up at him. He was listening to something else, something Harris couldn't hear. The officer stepped closer. Rex's nostrils flared slightly as he tested the air. His tail lowered, not tucked, just attentive, steady. That was new. Rex didn't freeze like this unless something mattered. Harris scanned the area. The path was empty. Wind brushed through a row of bushes a few yards away. Nothing obvious. Still, something shifted inside him. A quiet ripple of concern. "Rex?" he tested again. Rex took 1 step forward. Slow, purposeful. Then another. And another, with growing urgency. Harris tightened his grip. "Easy there." But Rex let out a soft, trembling whine. A sound the dog rarely made. A sound that came from instinct, not training. Harris felt something tighten beneath his ribs. Rex pulled again. Not aggressively. Not chaotically. Just insistent. Focused. Harris followed. The breeze rustled through the leaves as they approached the bushes. The light dimmed slightly beneath the shade, shadows playing along the ground. Rex lowered his head, sniffed, then moved with direct certainty. No hesitation. Harris lifted the branches with one hand, and the world held still. A small child sat curled against a tree trunk, shoes muddy, knees pulled tight to his chest. Tear marks dried on his cheeks. He looked no older than 4, maybe 5. His eyes were wide and red, but he didn't cry. He seemed past crying. Harris blinked, heart thudding once. Heavy and quiet. "Oh," he whispered. "Hey there, buddy." But before Harris could step closer, Rex moved. He didn't charge forward. He didn't bark. He didn't even sniff the boy. He simply walked up and sat down beside him, slowly, gently, like approaching something breakable. The child reacted instantly. His tiny hand reached out, trembling, and gripped Rex's fur. Not tugging. Not holding out of curiosity. Holding out of need. Rex didn't move. Didn't shift his weight. Didn't look away. He stayed. Perfectly still. A shield. A comfort. A presence stronger than words. Harris crouched, keeping his voice soft. "Hey little guy, you okay?" The child didn't look at him. Didn't speak. He only pressed his forehead lightly against Rex's shoulder. Harris swallowed. A slow, quiet breath. He watched the dog's posture. Ears relaxed but alert. Tail still but not tense. Body lean just enough toward the boy to offer warmth. Protective. Instinctive. Certain. Something about it made Harris's chest tighten. "Rex," he murmured softly. "What do you know that I don't?" The wind shifted. Leaves whispered overhead. A distant siren hummed somewhere far across the city. But in this small pocket of the park, everything felt delicate. Like the moment could shatter if he moved too fast. Rex lowered his head slightly, touching it to the boy's hand. A reassurance. Promise. Harris watched the boy's shoulders relax, just a little, as though Rex's presence kept the world from collapsing. The officer spoke gently. "We're gonna help you, okay? You're safe." No reaction. Only Rex's calm breathing. Only the child's small fingers tangled in the dog's fur. Something else was happening here. Something Harris couldn't quite see yet. Connection. A warning. A story beginning with a quiet, instinctive choice made by a dog who understood more than he could explain. Harris exhaled slowly, carefully, because whatever Rex sensed, whatever drew him here, it wasn't ordinary. Not at all. Moments later, everything changed. The path back toward the patrol car felt quieter than usual, as if the park itself was holding its breath. Officer Harris walked slowly, matching the small steps of the child who stayed pressed against Rex's side. The boy held onto the dog's fur with both hands now. Not gripping hard, just staying close, like Rex was the only steady thing in his world. Rex walked with a careful, almost unusual softness. Head slightly lowered. Ears relaxed. Tail steady. A silent promise in every movement. Harris kept his voice calm. "Almost there, buddy, we're just going to the car. You're safe with us." No answer. The child didn't look up. Didn't nod. Didn't cry. He simply stayed close to the dog, matching Rex's pace as if the two of them had been walking together for years. A soft breeze rustled the trees overhead. Sunlight flickered across the pavement in broken patches. Somewhere in the distance, a lawn-mower buzzed faintly, but around them quiet. A careful, fragile kind of quiet. Harris opened the back door of the patrol SUV. Rex stepped in first, turning so his body faced outward, an instinctive guarding position. Only then did the child climb in, settling against Rex's side like a small shadow. Harris shut the door gently. For a moment he stood there, hand resting on the cool metal of the vehicle, letting the moment settle in his chest. Kids got lost sometimes. It happened. But something about this situation felt different. Too quiet. Too still. He got into the front seat and angled himself so he could see them through the mesh divider. The boy's small fingers curled into Rex's fur again. Rex didn't move. Didn't shift. Only breathed in slow, steady rhythms. A calm heartbeat in the middle of the storm. Harris spoke gently. "Can you tell me your name, buddy?" The boy's gaze dropped lower, chin nearly touching his chest. Rex's ears twitched. A small signal. The dog was listening too. Harris tried again. Are you hurt? Are you hungry? Thirsty? Silence. Just the faint hum of the engine and Rex's soft breathing. The boy's breaths were shallow, uneven, like he was trying not to cry. Harris softened his tone even more. You don't have to talk if you're scared. But you're safe now. Rex won't let anything happen to you. For a moment, the child's shoulders trembled. Not a full shake. Just a tiny, fragile shiver. And then, Rex leaned his head forward and nudged the boy's hand. A gentle, comforting touch. The child's breath caught. Harris saw it. That small shift in the air. The way a child sometimes reacts when someone finally reaches the hidden part of their fear. Another nudge from Rex. Slow. Warm. Reassuring. The boy whispered something. Barely a sound. Barely a breath. Harris turned slightly. What was that? The boy didn't repeat it. But his fingers tightened in Rex's fur. Rex stayed utterly still, giving the child all the patience in the world. Harris softened his voice again. It's okay, you can say it again. We're here to help. Whatever you're afraid of, you're not alone. Silence. Then, a tiny whisper. My name is Lucas. The words came out thin and delicate, like the boy was afraid they would break in the air. Harris nodded slowly, keeping his movements gentle. That's a good name. Hi, Lucas. I'm Officer Harris, and this is Rex. He's my partner. Lucas didn't lift his head, but he pressed closer to Rex. Rex gave a quiet exhale, a soft, reassuring sigh dogs sometimes make when they're settling in to comfort someone. Harris continued softly. Lucas, do you know where your parents are? Lucas's breathing tightened. He swallowed once, then a small shake of the head. Slow. Heavy. Rex's paw shifted just slightly, a subtle movement, and the dog angled his body so Lucas could lean into him more comfortably. That small action, that simple instinct told Harris everything. This boy wasn't just lost. He was afraid. Deeply. Quietly. And Rex sensed it. Harris spoke again, warm and steady. We're going to take you somewhere safe. People there will help us find your family. You don't have to worry about anything. Rex is with you. Lucas didn't reply. But his breathing softened a little, not calm but less strained. Harris started the SUV and pulled out of the parking lot. The world passed slowly outside the windows. Trees. Houses. Shops. Afternoon sunlight stretching long across the streets. Inside the car, the air stayed gentle. Soft. Protective. Lucas leaned into Rex's side, eyes half closed. Not asleep. Just exhausted. As if fear had drained more from him than hunger or cold ever could. Harris watched them through the mirror. It struck him how still Rex remained. No shifting posture. No scanning the environment. The dog was focused entirely on Lucas. A quiet anchor for a frightened child who didn't yet understand what safety felt like. Harris felt something stir deep inside. A mix of concern, responsibility, and something else. Gratitude. Because if Rex hadn't stopped on that trail, if he hadn't sensed something no one else noticed, Lucas would still be alone in the shadows of the trees. The thought tightened Harris's chest. He lowered his voice. Good work, boy. Rex didn't turn. Didn't move. He just kept breathing steadily, offering his warmth to the child curled against him. As they approached the station, Lucas finally whispered again. Barely audible. Please, don't make Rex go away. Harris blinked slowly. Softly. He answered in a warm, steady tone. He's not going anywhere, Lucas. He'll stay with you. I promise. The boy's small fingers curled deeper into Rex's fur. Rex didn't move. He just stayed, patient, present, protective. As if he understood the promise was meant for him too. They pulled into the station. Harris took a slow breath. Because something told him this was only the beginning. Let's get you inside, he said gently. Lucas didn't resist. He only stayed close to Rex. And Rex stayed close to him. The bond had already formed. Quietly. Instinctively. And neither of them seemed willing to let go. The station felt calm. Orderly, clean. Bright overhead lights hummed softly, and the low murmur of officers typing filled the background. But despite the familiar sounds, something in the atmosphere shifted the moment Lucas stepped inside. He stayed close to Rex, closer than before. Almost glued to the dog's side, Rex matched his pace with remarkable gentleness. Slow steps, head slightly lowered, a watchful awareness in every movement. Officer Harris guided them toward a quiet corner room used for interviews with children. The hallway smelled faintly of coffee and disinfectant. The evening sun filtered through the windows, stretching long stripes of warm light across the floor. Harris kept his voice soft. "We're just going to sit for a minute, Lucas. No questions yet. Just rest." Lucas didn't respond, but he followed Rex into the small room. Rex walked inside first, circled once, then settled beside a cushioned chair, leaving enough space for Lucas to sit next to him. Lucas climbed into the chair immediately, not leaning back, not relaxing, just pressing his little shoulder against Rex's. The dog didn't shift, didn't adjust. He simply anchored himself, as if he knew the boy needed a steady shape in a drifting world. Harris pulled up a chair of his own. He didn't open a notebook, didn't ask anything. He wanted the moment to breathe. For a minute, nothing moved. Nothing sounded except the gentle hum of the air conditioning and the slow, rhythmic breaths of Rex. Then a soft knock at the door. Officer Boone stepped in with a reassuring smile and a tablet in hand. "Hey, Harris. Any ID yet? Any missing child calls?" Harris shook his head. "Nothing. He only told us his name. Lucas." Boone nodded and lowered his voice. "We'll run it through the system. Might take a bit." Boone's gaze drifted to Rex and Lucas. His expression softened. "That dog, he's attached already." Harris exhaled quietly. "Yeah, and Lucas won't let go of him." Boone left the room gently, closing the door with a soft click. For a few more seconds, silence. Lucas' small hand stroked Rex's fur slowly, almost automatically, like a child holding onto a blanket in the dark. Then Harris leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Lucas," he said softly, "do you remember where you were before we found you?" Lucas' breathing tightened. His fingers paused. Rex shifted, just slightly, easing closer. A silent comfort. Lucas whispered something so faint it barely reached the air. "Woods." Harris kept his voice calm, steady. "Woods near the park?" A tiny nod. "Were you playing there?" he asked gently. "Or were you with someone?" Lucas swallowed, then whispered, "Someone." A pause. A small shiver in his shoulders. Rex lifted his head and nudged Lucas' arm. Lucas responded instantly, pressing his face against Rex's neck. Harris didn't push further. Not now. Instead, he stood carefully. "I'm going to take Rex back outside for a minute," he said softly, "just to check where he led us before. You can stay here with Officer Lynn. She'll sit with you, okay?" Lucas' head shot up, panic flashing in his eyes for the first time since they found him. His voice cracked. "No. Rex stays." It was the first time he spoke louder than a whisper. Harris froze. Rex turned his head, watching Lucas with soft, steady eyes. Harris crouched down slowly. "Okay, then you come too. All of us. Together." Lucas nodded immediately. He stood without hesitation, his hand already reaching for Rex's fur again. Rex responded with a gentle tail wag, as if he understood the boy's relief. Outside, the evening light hung low and golden across the park. The air smelled of pine and warm pavement. A few families packed up picnics. A couple joggers passed by. But the woods at the edge of the park felt still, quiet, heavy with unspoken things. Rex stepped toward the trail where they'd found Lucas earlier. His ears flicked forward, posture attentive. Harris walked beside him, scanning the area. "Rex," he said carefully, "show me." The dog lowered his nose to the ground. He sniffed slowly, thoughtfully. Then he moved. Not fast, not darting, just steady, purposeful. He led them off the main path toward thicker trees, deeper into the shade. Lucas hesitated when the shadows grew darker. Rex brushed his side against the boy's leg. A soft reassurance. Lucas followed. The farther they walked, the quieter the park sounded. The world felt softer here. Muted. Rex stopped at a patch of disturbed soil. Harris crouched. Footprints. Small ones. Then larger ones beside them. He felt the air thicken in his chest. "Lucas," Harris said softly, "were you here?" Lucas didn't speak. He just pressed closer to Rex. The dog's posture shifted again, subtle tension through his shoulders, ears slightly forward, nose lifted to catch scent. Harris examined the area. Grass flattened. Soil scuffed. A broken branch. Someone had been here. Recently. He took a slow breath. "Rex," he whispered. "What are you trying to show me?" Rex sniffed again, more urgently this time, then moved to another spot. A faint trail leading away from the clearing. But he didn't pull forward. Didn't chase the scent. Instead he returned to Lucas. Stood beside him. Close. Protective. Harris watched the dog's behavior, understanding the message. The trail meant danger. But Lucas meant priority. Rex was choosing the child. Harris felt his heartbeat slow. Deepen. Something was very wrong here. And Rex knew it. Lucas tightened his hold on the dog. His voice trembled. "Please, don't let him find me." The word slipped out like a secret escaping his chest. Harris inhaled sharply. Rex leaned into the boy with steady warmth. And the picture finally began to form. This wasn't just a lost child. This wasn't just confusion. There was someone else out there. Someone Rex had sensed before anyone else. Someone who shouldn't be close. And Harris knew. This was only the beginning. Evening had just begun settling over the quiet neighborhood when Officer Harris stepped out of the patrol car and noticed something unusual. Max, the usually calm, disciplined police dog, was pacing in tight circles, his ears flicking back every few seconds as if he were listening to something only he could hear. The other officers were busy taking statements from the neighbors who had found the lost child, but Max wasn't interested in any of them. His attention kept drifting toward the line of trees behind the playground. It was as if he knew something wasn't finished yet. A child's fear returns. The little boy, wrapped in a blanket, sat quietly beside Officer Diaz. His eyes were still red from crying, but when Max passed by him, the child's entire body stiffened. He reached out a shaky hand and touched Max's fur. "Doggy, don't go," he whispered. Officer Diaz frowned. "You're safe now, sweetheart. The dog just needs to." But the child shook his head hard. "No, he knows." "Knows what?" "Travel." Max signals again. Max suddenly stopped pacing. His head snapped toward the trees. His body lowered into a cautious stance. Not attacking, not afraid, but alert. Exactly the same posture he had shown when the officers first found him sitting beside the lost child. Officer Harris noticed immediately. Everyone quiet. The other officers paused, watching Max with rising tension. The dog wasn't guessing. He wasn't reacting randomly. He was pointing them toward something, the same thing the child was terrified of. The truth begins to surface. Officer Harris slowly approached the boy. "Son, why were you out here alone? Did someone bring you here?" The boy's lips trembled. He glanced at the trees again. "That's where he went." "Who?" The boy didn't answer. "EJ." And Max didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't break eye contact with the dark gap between the trees. Because he knew the person who left the child wasn't far. And he wasn't finished. The unspoken warning. The officers exchanged tense looks. And the child wasn't just lost. Someone had left him, and that someone was still out there. Max took one slow step toward the woods. The officers followed. Too quiet. A soft breeze moved through the branches, but beneath it, there was something else. And it is the kind Max had reacted to from the very beginning. Officer Harris walked slowly, holding his flashlight low. Behind him, Officer Diaz kept a protective arm around the little boy, who insisted on staying close to Max. Max led the way, step by careful step, his paws pressing gently into the damp ground. He wasn't pulling. He wasn't rushing. He was guiding, as if he knew the officers needed to understand something important, something they had missed. The child speaks. They reached a narrow clearing, half hidden behind a cluster of tall trees. Max stopped. His ears lifted. His tail lowered. He exhaled a quiet, trembling breath. The boy stepped forward, clutching Officer Diaz's sleeve. This is where he got angry, he whispered. Officer Diaz knelt down beside him. Who, sweetheart? Who got angry? The boy swallowed hard. My uncle. The officers froze. The child's voice shook as he continued. He said I talk too much. He told me to stay here and be quiet. His tiny fingers tightened. And he didn't come back. Diaz's throat tightened. Did he hurt you? The boy shook his head. He just left. For a long time. I got scared. But the dog found me. He looked at Max. Eyes full of gratitude only a child could express. He didn't leave me. And Max didn't take his eyes off the trees. Because the story wasn't over. The hidden trail. Officer Harris scanned the ground. Leaves were crushed in a single direction, forming a distinct trail. Someone had run through here recently. The boy's uncle. The real. Max stepped forward, nose to the ground, inhaling slowly. Detecting. Compared, deciding. Then he lifted his head, locked onto the direction of the trail, and glanced back at the officers. Not barking. Not panicking. Just communicating. Follow me. Don't. All right, boy. Let us. The man in the shadows. The trail curved around an old fallen tree and ended near a weather-worn shed. The door stood slightly open. Max froze. He didn't growl. Didn't show teeth. But his posture became rigid, protective but controlled. Inside the shed movement. Someone was hiding. Harris raised a hand. Everyone stay back. But Max didn't move from his place. He had positioned himself in front of the boy, shielding him without touching him. Inside, a man huddled behind a stack of broken crates. Unshaven. Breathing fast. Eyes darting like a trapped animal. The child trembled the moment he saw him. That's him. Envy. The officer. I didn't hurt him, he blurted. I swear I didn't. I panicked. The officers paused. Even Max softened slightly. Ears relaxing, tail no longer tight. The man's voice cracked. I too. Officer Diaz exchanged a long look with Harris. The truth was surfacing, messy, imperfect, human. This wasn't malice. It was fear, negligence, and guilt. Max stepped closer, sniffing the air, lowering his head. No danger. No aggression. Just a frightened man who had made a terrible mistake. The dog's real gift. When the uncle finally stepped out, hands trembling, Max gently moved aside. No tension. No warning. Because Max had understood something the humans hadn't. This wasn't a monster. Just someone who needed to be confronted peacefully. Max walked back to the child, nudging his hand softly with his nose. And for the first time that night, Max's tail wagged. Soft. Slow. Reassuring. The woods felt different on the walk back. Softer. Quieter. As if the tension that had filled every branch, every shadow, had finally begun to release. Max walked between the child and the uncle, not choosing sides, just keeping them together. His steady footsteps, his calm breathing, the gentle sway of his tail, all of it created a feeling of safety that no words could match. Officer Diaz watched the trio with a warm heaviness in her chest. Tonight had been complicated, painful, but also honest. Sometimes the truth didn't roar, it whispered. And at the patrol car, when they reached the flashing lights of the patrol cars, the boy hesitated. He looked up at his uncle's small, worried eyes searching for something. His uncle knelt down in front of him. I'm sorry, he whispered. Really, really sorry. I never meant to scare you. The boy's lip trembled. You left. I know, the man said, voice breaking. And that was wrong. I shouldn't have. I just lost my temper. But I came back, I swear. I just couldn't find you. The child's shoulders dropped. He reached out slowly and touched his uncle's sleeve. You're not mad now? The uncle shook his head. No. I'm just glad you're safe. Officer Diaz stepped back. She didn't interrupt. Exam. Beside her, Max sat down. Posture relaxed, eyes soft. He understood. Forgiveness had begun. The officers reflect. Don't. Max knew, he murmured. Diaz nodded. He wasn't protecting the boy from the man. He was protecting both of them from fear. He didn't lead us to danger, Harris added. He led us to the truth. Max's ears perked at the sound of his name. He looked up at the officer's tail thumping once, just once, against the ground. A quiet acknowledgement. A gentle goodbye. The paramedics finished evaluating the child. No injuries. Just a little cold, a little scared, and a lot relieved. Before leaving, he turned to Max. The big German shepherd stood patiently, head tilted. Thank you, the uncle whispered. I don't deserve what you did tonight. Max. The Officer Harris gave him a reassuring nod. Get some rest. And take better care of him. I will, the man said softly. From now on. I promise. The boy's last request. As the social worker prepared to escort the child and uncle to the station for final paperwork, the boy tugged on Diaz's sleeve. Can I say bye to Max? The boy ran to Max and wrapped his little arms around the dog's neck. Not tight. Just gentle. Just grateful. Max lowered his head and pressed his nose against the boy's shoulder. A soft, warm gesture that meant you're safe now. The boys. Please don't forget me. Max nudged his cheek. A dog's promise. The child smiled, small but real, for the first time since being found. The drive back. After they left, the woods completely fell silent. Officer D. You did good tonight. Max leaned into her touch, tired but peaceful. Come on, hero. Let's get you home. Max hopped inside, curled up with a soft exhale, and rested his head on his paws. Outside, the streetlights blurred into warm lines of gold as the car rolled forward. Inside, Max's breathing steadied. Slow, calm, content. The night wasn't about danger. It wasn't about crime. It was about understanding, the quiet kind that only a dog could guide them to. And as the car disappeared into the city lights, something gentle and healing settled over all of them. The sun rose slowly over the city, spilling soft gold across the police station parking lot. Everything felt quieter than usual, calmer, as if the entire night had exhaled while everyone slept. Officer Diaz stepped out of her car, coffee in one hand, paperwork in the other. But what caught her attention was Max, sitting proudly beside the station entrance, tail sweeping the concrete in slow, content strokes. He looked rested, centered, almost peaceful. Morning, buddy, he said, scratching behind Max's ears. Max leaned into the touch with a soft grunt, the kind dogs make when they trust the person in front of them. Harris nodded. It does. Last night changed a lot. A visit they didn't expect. Forrest. The officers exchanged a curious glance, until the back door opened. The little boy stepped out, wearing clean clothes this time, holding a tiny stuffed bear under his arm. His uncle followed behind him, slower, quieter, humbled. They wanted to see Max, she said. He ran. Max lifted his head sharply, ears up, tail wagging in wide, joyous sweeps. He stood as the child reached him and gently pressed his face into Max's fur. Max nudged his cheek as if saying, I didn't go anywhere. The uncle's apology. I wanted to thank you, he said, voice low. And I wanted to say I'm getting help. I talked to them about stress, anger, everything. Harris listened without judgment. It takes courage to admit that, he said quietly. And I want to do better, the uncle added. For him. Officers weren't therapists. They weren't judges. But they could recognize honesty when they heard it. Diaz nodded gently. He trusts you. Just make sure he never feels abandoned again. The uncle swallowed hard. I won't. The boy's gift. The chi. A drawing. Crayons. Messy lines. Soft colors. He handed it to Diaz shyly. It's Max, he said. And me. Diaz unfolded it slowly. A little boy standing beside a big dog. A sun in the corner. Trees in the background. Both smiling. She crouched down. This is beautiful, she whispered. Can I show it to Max? The boy. Diaz placed the drawing gently on the ground. Max bent his head and sniffed it, then pressed one paw softly onto the paper, almost like he was claiming it. He likes it. Quiet understanding. The visit wasn't long. Just a few minutes of healing and reassurance and gratitude. But when the boy left, he turned back one last time. Bye, Max, he called out. Maxell. Not loud. Not sharp. Just enough to be heard. Enough to say goodbye, little one. You're okay now. The boy smiled and got into the car. The uncle gave the officers a respectful nod before following. And what the officers learned. Inside, Harris pinned the boy's drawing to the bulletin board. Right in the center, where everyone could see it. Diaz glanced at Max, who had curled up under her desk. You knew the whole time, didn't you? Max blinked slowly. Resting. Content. No need to prove anything. Dogs didn't explain. They didn't justify. The hair. Last night reminded me, he said, that a dog doesn't just find people. Sometimes he finds the truth too. And as Max shifted slightly, tail tapping the floor in a slow, sleepy rhythm. He wasn't a hero seeking praise. A quiet bridge between fear and understanding. The morning sun spilled golden light over the quiet park where it had all begun. Leaves swayed gently in the breeze, birds called softly from the trees, and the city beyond hummed with distant life. Officer Harris leaned against the patrol car, coffee in hand. Max sat beside him, ears twitching at every subtle sound, a habit he had never lost. Not even after the long night, the discoveries and the healing. Max's eyes scanned the park with calm authority. Ever vigilant, ever protective, ever faithful. A quiet moment. The boy and his uncle arrived quietly, hand in hand. No tears, no fear, just cautious hope. The child ran forward, and Max rose immediately, tail wagging gently. He circled the boy once before lowering himself to the ground, allowing the little one to climb onto his side. His warm body became a living cushion, a safe space that had never wavered. The uncle watched from behind, shoulders hunched, eyes glistening. He didn't speak. He only let the moment unfold, recognizing that some lessons were felt, not said. The first true smile. The boy leaned against Max's fur, arms wrapped tightly. A smile appeared on his face, soft, real, unforced. The kind of smile that comes after fear has been replaced by trust. Officer Harris stepped forward, his own chest tight with emotion. You see that? He whispered to Diaz. That's what he does. Not just protecting. He teaches people to feel safe again. Diaz nodded. Her hand rested lightly on Max's back. He's more than a dog. He's a bridge between fear and comfort, pain and healing. Max tilted his head, as if acknowledging the praise. Not with pride but with quiet understanding. A lesson learned. The uncle knelt beside the child, softly touching his shoulder. I know I failed you before, he said. But Max, he reminded me what it means to protect, to care, and to never abandon someone who trusts you. The child's small hand rested on Max again. You'll never leave me alone, he said. I won't, the uncle whispered. And I won't let anything hurt you. Ever again. The boy smiled wider. Not just at his uncle but at Max, the dog who had saved him in ways no one could explain. The silent guardian. Max stood stretching, then nudged the boy gently with his nose. It was his way of saying, I'll always be here. Even when you can't see me, I'm watching. I'm listening. I'm protecting. Officer Harris watched, a quiet awe filling him. he realized something that only a few ever truly understood. A dog's loyalty isn't just instinct. Something deeper. Something almost spiritual. The ability to sense fear, guide the lost, and heal hearts. Max had done all of it. Not with words, not with force, but with presence. A silent, unshakable presence. A warm ending. The three humans stood together, the boy holding Max's fur, the uncle holding the boy's hand, officers watching quietly from the side. The sun rose higher, warming their backs, illuminating the park with soft golden light. It was more than a reunion, more than a rescue. It was a moment of understanding, a bond so strong it needed no explanation. Harris smiled, looking down at Max. "You did it, boy. You always do." Max gave a single calm breath, tail sweeping the ground slowly, deliberately. Eyes soft, heart steady. The world outside might never know what happened here. But inside this park, inside these hearts, something unbreakable had formed. A dog, a child, a family learning to trust again, and a silent lesson that would last forever.